As you set yourself up, I recommend starting with your knees bent and the soles of your feet on the floor. And you might begin by scanning your environment, using eyes to notice light, color, sound. You might notice that some sounds are close by and others are a little farther away. As you continue your scan, you can also start to notice your skin and the way it connects to your environment. In some areas, you'll feel more pressure or texture. And other areas, the contact is lighter, might feel more spacious. Gradually bring your attention under your skin into your muscles and your bones. And are there any areas that feel tender or sore or need a little extra care and attention today? And as you begin your practice today, I'd like to bring in a theme around balance. And so I invite you to consider what balance looks like and feels like for you. Does it change from day to day? And are there certain activities or rituals or practices that you have that help you find a sense of balance? Not just when you're moving through your environment in a physical way, but also what helps you feel in balance as you move through your world and your relationships. When you're ready to move, bring your arms out to the sides at about shoulder height. Walk your feet so they're about mat width apart. Inhale, tip both knees to right. Exhale, return to center. Inhale, tip both knees to left. Exhale, return to center. Do this a few times. You can let your head turn with your knees, looking in the same direction, or you can turn your head opposite your knees. Or you can try a few of each one. As you move in this gentle way to begin, can you sync up your breath and your movement? The next time your knees are in the center, pause there. Interlace your hands behind the back of your head and you look a little bit like a hammerhead shark with your elbows out to the sides here. Inhale, slide shoulders and head to one side like you're making a crescent shape with your torso and ribs. Exhale, return to center. Inhale, slide head and shoulders the other direction. Exhale, return to center. And do this a few times, noticing how it feels to move upper body. What does this movement invite of you and ask of you? Do you notice any of the tender places that we explored earlier affected by this movement? And would it be helpful to back out a little bit or to pause and linger somewhere. Next time your head and shoulders are in the center, experiment with tipping knees one direction and head and shoulders the opposite. This one I think of as a sea anemone. And so as you move side to side on your breath, notice how there's movement initiating from both below the hips and your feet and legs, but also through your upper body. As you explore this movement a couple more times, inviting that spiral feeling. The next time you're in the center, pause there. Release your arms by your sides and straighten your legs and see how it feels to pause in Shavasana for a moment. What do you notice about your breath, particularly around your diaphragm and your rib basket? Is there any other sensations under your skin that are new or different in some way? And then when you're ready, bend your knees again. Interlace your hands behind your head as you did previously. This time, inhale, tilt your tailbone into the floor, press your elbows down and arc your respiratory diaphragm a bit up towards the sky. Exhale, scoop that diaphragm down towards the floor and tuck your tailbone towards your knees. Do that a couple times. Inhale, tailbone tilts into the floor, feeling front belly widen and lift up towards the sky. Exhale, feel your belly root down towards the floor as you tuck your tailbone towards your knees. Inhale, once again, tilt tailbone into earth, almost like a little salamander could crawl under your rib basket here. Exhale, this time scoop and lift your head and upper back as you tuck your tail a little towards your knees, almost a bit like an old-fashioned sit-up. Inhale, lower back to the earth, elbows down, tailbone tilts, and do this a couple times. Our first movement pattern, we started with the spiraling of the legs and then combined it with the side-to-side movement of your upper body. But this one, we're now moving into the forward and backward planes in your body. And so as you explore how this feels for you today, can you once again stay linked up with your breath? And does this movement feel balanced? Or in other words, can you feel as if the effort and the movement of lifting your upper body and your tailbone up towards the sky feels relatively in harmony with what happens as you press your elbows and your tailbone down into the floor? Or does it feel easier to move in one direction? Or perhaps there's more sensation or intensity in a particular part of the pose. As you finish the one you're on, go ahead and release back to the Shavasana for a few breaths and drop in. What's it like to pause? Noticing how these gentle movements gradually move deeper into your awareness and into your body. Then from here, bend your knees and roll to one side. And as you roll to one side, come up into the table position. Now, fold up your blanket. If you like, you can have it as padding for under your knees. If it works for you, you can also shift it off to the side. Now, if you have a block, go ahead and grab it. If you have 2 blocks, you can use 2 blocks. If you don't have blocks, a book would work. Something that gives you a little bit of a lift under one hand and one knee. And so if maybe you have 1 block and 1 book, So start with your right hand on the block and your left hand on the floor, or book, whatever you're using. And then do a cat-cow. So on your exhale, tuck your chin to your chest, and inhale, tilt your tailbone into the floor. But with your shoulders uneven, what does this feel like for you? With the shoulders uneven, can you feel any sensation in a particular place, maybe more on one side than the other? And after you've done a few of those, switch the block so it's under your opposite hand and do the same cat-cow and notice what's different. What does this side reveal to you? And as you check in with this wave-like pattern, can you press equally into both hands? So there might be a tendency for the hand that's on the floor to get a little lighter because of the way the block lifts you up. Is it possible to keep that weight pretty even between the two hands, balancing out the push down? Then when you're ready, go ahead and take your block under your right hand once again, and if you have a second thing to lift up on, so again, a book would work pretty well here, take that book or that height underneath your opposite knee. So you have right hand and left knee are on the heights. And notice what that feels like. And then could you do a cat-cow or two here? It's going to feel really awkward, I'm imagining. Very imbalanced or unbalanced. Imbalanced, sorry, I am imbalanced or unbalanced. Then after you've done that a few times, push into the hand and the knee that are on the block. And how would it be for you to lift the other leg off the floor? Could you find balance there? Now, as you lift that leg, could you also lift the big toe of the foot that's on the block, or the knee that's on the block? Can you lift that big toe? And then potentially reach your other arm out in front of you. Now, I was noticing here just now that my pinky finger and my thumb on my right hand are gripping the block because it helps me find balance. You can do that if you want. Take the thumb and the pinky finger around the outer edge. Now, on your exhale, bring your knee and your elbow towards one another. And inhale, reach arm and leg away from one another. If possible, keeping that left big toe off the floor the whole time. And try this out a couple times. What's it feel like to reach through opposite arm and opposite leg as you find balance on the blocks? Woo, I'm wobbling like one of those little bobbly dolls, you know those ones? Then when you're ready, finish that side and switch to the other side. You might find that one is really easy or relatively easy, and the other is quite challenging. So be curious. Start with hand and knee on the floor and do a couple of those cat-cows to feel how it is for your body to be super uneven in this position that you've most likely encountered as a relatively symmetrical setup. Now experiment with reaching your back leg behind you. So you're balancing on the block. At the same time, lift the other big toe off the floor. When and if it feels appropriate for you, reach your front arm out towards the wall in front of you and see how that feels. Do you feel wobbly? Do you feel balanced? Something in between, a little bit of both. Exhale, bring knee and elbow towards one another. Inhale, reach arm and leg back out. And notice, what is adding this breath-based movement do to your experience? How does it change your experience to move in a dynamic way? And again, is this side easier or more challenging than the first side? As you finish the one you're on, you can lower back to the ground. You might choose to keep your hands on the blocks here if you have two, or if your books are about the same height. If not, you can bring them down to the floor. Tuck your toes under, lift your knees, and come into the downward facing dog. And then walk your dog. Give yourself a moment to bend one knee, press opposite heel down, do a little squiggling and a wiggling. You could lift a leg up towards the sky, noticing what you're feeling. And from your downward facing dog, walk your feet to meet your hands. As you come to the top of the mat, push down through your feet and inhale, lift all the way up to standing. So you come to stand at the top of the mat, feel into the soles of your feet, have your arms by your sides. Inhale, sweep your arms up as you press into your feet. Notice where the weight in your feet travels as you fold forward. Does it head more into your toes or your heels or both? Inhale, lift halfway, look forward, and exhale, step back to downward facing dog. As you move through this vinyasa, pay particular attention to your feet. Inhale into the plank position. Exhale, downward facing dog. Do that a few times, feeling the repetition of this forward and backward movement, noticing how feet are in contact with the floor. Then next time you're forward in your plank pose, pause there, bring your knees to the earth and lower down onto your belly through chaturanga into the shalabhasana. As you inhale, lift your chest, lift your legs and your arms. Exhale, lower back down to the earth. Repeat a couple times. Inhale, lift and float. Exhale, lower down. As you follow the waves of your breath, repeat this movement a couple times. The next time you're in the shalabhasana, take your hands to the earth and explore the arc of the shalabhasana, tracing a curved line from the tips of your toes to the base of your skull. Can you keep the angle of that curve the same and tip your feet to the earth and lift your chest into the cobra? Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, lift heels, look forward. Exhale, step, walk, or float feet to meet hands. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, fold, chin to chest. Inhale, push through the feet, reach for the sky. Exhale, arms by your sides. Let's do another round. Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, notice feet as you dive forward. Inhale, continue to notice your feet as you lift halfway up again. And exhale, step back to downward facing dog. Inhale, plank. Your choice, straight legs or knees to the floor. Lower down chaturanga. This time you might go straight into cobra, or you can explore that shalabhasana to cobra transition. And exhale, downward facing dog. And take an extra breath in your downward facing dog. Walk your feet so they're almost touching, big toes together. Inhale, lift your left leg up towards the sky and come as high as you can onto the ball of your right foot. Now lower right heel down towards the earth and lift right heel back up. So right leg is the standing leg. Lift and lower that heel a few times. Notice how three-legged dog changes your balance a bit. Switch sides. Left foot to the earth, right leg lifts up towards the sky. Lift and lower your standing heel a few times. Checking in with how it feels to have more weight on your left leg and to lift and lower your heel a few times. Bring your foot back to the earth. Check in with your big toes touching. Inhale into plank position. How does that feel for you? Can you hug your inner ankles together like you're zipping up duffel bag zippers? Exhale back to downward facing dog. Your choice, step or hop your feet to meet your hands. Coming back to the top of your mat. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, fold, chin to chest. Inhale, reach for the sky. Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, arms by your sides. Samastitihi. Pause and take a breath for nothing. Giving yourself a chance to feel how those last movements impacted your breath, your heart rate. And as you're ready, we'll do the chair pose as a flow. Inhale, Utkatasana or chair pose. Exhale, return to the standing position, Samastitihi. Do that a couple times. Inhale, chair pose. Exhale, standing tall. The Samastitihi, if you translate that from the Sanskrit, means equal standing. And the translation of Utkatasana or chair pose from Sanskrit is uneven. So as you move in and out of the uneven and the even postures, can you feel the way they connect to one another and influence one another? Then next time you're in the chair pose, pause there for a moment. Take your arms out to the side so you're making kind of a V shape. Now push into your right foot and take your left leg out to the side. So it's almost like you're tipping into an X that's a little crooked. And notice what that feels like for you. Would it be helpful to bend your standing leg a little more, or does it feel good where it is? Now switch sides. Push your left foot into the earth. Use your arms for a little leverage as you reach your right leg out to the side. I think of this as an X tipped on one point on one side, or like a star. And how do your arms moving out to the side help you leverage a little bit for the leg? Bring both feet back to floor. Exhale, fold forward, Uttanasana. Inhale, lift halfway, look forward. And exhale, back to the downward facing dog. Walk your feet towards the midline once again. This time, bend your right knee and lift your right knee up off the floor. I'm going to translate myself here so you can see a little different angle. So right knee lifts. Now, as your right knee comes up off the earth, can you open it out to the side like you're opening a gate? Your right knee will point perpendicular to your torso. It's almost like you're doing kind of like a pigeon pose, or I'm sorry, like a tree pose or something here in down dog. Then experiment, how would it feel to straighten your right leg so it's parallel with the floor out to the side? Woo, lots of work. Similar to that X shape in some ways. Good, and then switch sides. Bring right foot to the floor, bend your left knee, open it out to the left like you're opening a gate. As you push through your hands, you can start to experiment with straightening your left leg out to the left. Notice how the more weight moves out through that left foot, the right leg does different work. When you're ready, bend the knee, bring the foot back down and in. From your downward facing dog, inhale, right leg lifts up towards the sky. Now exhale, step right foot forward between your hands. Inhale, warrior two. Lift your torso. As you find your way into the warrior two, we'll breathe into and out of it a few times. Inhale, straighten your front leg. Optional, reach your arms for the sky. Exhale, bend your front knee. Look to your right hand. Follow your right hand. Look up towards the sky as you track arms up. Now look to your left hand. Exhale, warrior two. Try this a few times. Noticing how your eyes moving in space, following the hand, makes the balance more difficult. As you experiment once or twice more with this movement pattern, the next time you're looking at your front hand, pause there. Take as much time as you need to get there. And then how would it feel for you to close your eyes here? Still looking at the front hand, but with your eyelids closed. And sense into where your breath is, into how your balance changes. Open your eyes and tip right forearm to right thigh. Stretch your top arm straight up towards the sky, coming into the side angle position. Now, my personal recommendation is to take a block underneath your right hand. If you don't have one, you're welcome to keep your right arm as it is on your right leg. Look towards the floor and slowly press your front leg straight. So you're tipping into a triangle pose with forearm on your thigh. Bend your right knee, return to that side angle position. And try that a couple times. Looking at your front foot, experiment with straightening your front leg into the triangle. The next time your front leg is straight-ish, can you turn and look up towards the sky? Notice how looking up changes your balance. Would it be possible and appropriate for you to bend your front knee again while you look up and then re-straighten the leg, all while keeping your gaze softly at that top hand? You can repeat that up to 3 times here, or as many as you have the space for. The next time you're in the triangle, pause and linger there. Look anywhere it's comfortable for you. And then experiment with closing your eyes again. Now you might look to the floor before you close your eyes. Then open your eyes, inhale back to warrior 2. Exhale, downward facing dog. From your downward facing dog, feel free to move through any combination of stillness and movement. It could be the plank to chaturanga, could be the cat-cow, child's pose, malasana, anything that serves your practice today. We'll meet in downward facing dog. As you come into the downward facing dog, inhale, lift your left leg up towards the ceiling. Exhale, step forward and inhale, warrior 2. Feeling that windmill of your arms as you reach up. Inhale, straighten your front leg, lift your arms up. Exhale, bend your front knee, look to your front hand. Now, is it possible to continue looking at the hand until it reaches the top, and now look to your back hand as you come into the warrior 2? And do that a few times. Each time your arms meet at the top, your gaze switches to the opposite hand. Move at the pace of your breath, easing into and out of the warrior 2. Next time you look at your front hand, linger there. Take as much time as it's helpful for you. And then as you keep your eyes steadily on your hand, close your eyelids. Is it possible to close your eyelids and keep your eyes in the same spot? Or do they start to dance around a bit? And what do you notice about your balance with your eyes closed? How does it change what you feel? When you're ready, open your eyes, tip your forearm to your front thigh, reach top arm straight up towards the ceiling. It's the side angle position. Now look to your front foot, slowly press your front leg straight-ish. Rebend your knee. Do that a couple times, looking at your front foot and noticing, do you feel balanced? Does the balance change depending on the position of your front knee? Next time you're in the Trikonasana, experiment with looking up towards the ceiling. And then experiment with bending and straightening your front leg as you look up towards the ceiling. Noticing how eyes and head position make a big difference in your balance. The next time you're in the Trikonasana, could you linger there and close your eyes? You can let your head be in any position. My neck was getting a little tired of looking up. But how does it feel to have eyes closed as you balance here? Open your eyes. Inhale back to the warrior two. Exhale, downward facing dog, shifting hands to earth. Your choice, any combination of stillness and movement that helps you settle into your breath. Maybe you want to do a little bit of balancing in a side plank, the Vashisthasana. That would be welcome if you'd like. From your downward facing dog, inhale, lift your heels, look forward. Exhale, step or hop your feet to meet your hands. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, fold, chin to chest. Inhale, push through your feet, reach for the sky. Exhale, arms by your sides, Samastitihi. Stand tall with your big toes near one another. And how does it feel to close your eyes? All of a sudden, I feel a bit like I'm on a flagpole. And then open your eyes again. Slide your right foot towards your inner leg for tree pose. If you'd like to use your hand to help you place the leg, you're welcome to do so. Now, as you hug towards the midline with right foot and left leg, how would it feel here to close your eyes? And you might be like, that's a question that's going to remain unanswered because I'm going to leave my eyes open. And that's very much welcome. When you're ready, open your eyes again and set your foot to the floor and try the other side. As you stand into the other leg, lift knee up, place foot to inner thigh. Can you squeeze the lifted foot and the inner thigh into one another like you're hugging the midline? And does that help create a sense of lift through your spine? And then when and if it feels appropriate, close your eyes. And maybe one side is really different than the other. How does your breath change? Opening your eyes, step that foot to the floor. Turn back to the top of your mat. So feet are about hip distance apart, or you can go more narrow. Inhale, sweep your arms up, reach for the sky. Exhale, hinge and fold forward, Uttanasana. Inhale, lift halfway, look forward. And exhale, step back to down dog. You might want to have your blocks on their high height before you travel your feet back. You can keep your blocks near the front of your mat. You could also use like a bookshelf or a wall or a chair as we head into a balancing pose here. Inhale, lift your right leg up towards the ceiling. Exhale, step forward for high lunge. You can have feet about hip distance apart. And inhale, lift your torso. Arms come up by your ears. Pause there for a moment. Feel into the soles of your feet. If you'd like to experiment with closing your eyes, do so now. What do you notice about eyes closed and balance? And can you feel how balance requires adaptation and micro adjustments? And then slowly open your eyes, because I would say you're balanced. You haven't fallen over, right? So as you lean forward, let's go ahead and take your tippy fingers to the blocks, or if you'd like, you can have them on a support like a chair or the wall. If you want to do it free balance, hands to heart. Now lift your back foot off the floor and find a sense of steadiness through that right leg, even if you have to kind of fake it a little bit. Bend your front knees, set your back foot down, And repeat that again, lifting off the back leg, pressing into the front leg. Now as you're here, this time linger for a moment. Have your left hand on the block or the chair, and inhale, reach your right arm and your left heel in space like you did on the block earlier when you were balancing in the table. Exhale, hug knee and elbow towards one another. Inhale, reach them long. And repeat that a couple times. Elbow and knee hug together. Inhale, reach them out. Using the hand on the block to create stability. And the standing leg can bend as much as it's useful for you as you play around with the warrior three. If you'd like to challenge using that eyes closed option, give that a go for a round or two. When you're ready, bring both hands to the blocks and open your eyes. Bend your front knee, step back foot to the earth, and inhale, high lunge. Exhale, downward facing dog. From your downward facing dog, optional vinyasa or any combination of stillness and movement. Give yourself a chance to reset as it's helpful to you, and noticing what you're feeling in regards to balance and imbalance. My teacher, T.S. Little, has said, if you cannot accommodate being out of balance, then are you really in balance? If you cannot accommodate being out of balance, then do you really have balance? When you're ready, we'll do the second side. So make your way into downward facing dog. Inhale, lift your left leg up towards the ceiling. Exhale, step forward for high lunge. Lift your torso, arms by your ears. Linger there for a moment. Optional, experiment with closing your eyes. How does that change the feeling of balance or imbalance? And how do you accommodate the feeling of imbalance, of being out of balance? When you're ready, open your eyes, lean towards the blocks for the warrior three. Or you can use chair or arms in space. When you're ready, lift your back foot off the floor. Lower it to the earth again and repeat that so you have a moment to touch in on the shape of being on one foot, and then you head back to the earth where you have more support with your back foot. The next time you're in that Virabhadrasana 3, can you linger there for a moment? And as you linger there, what would it feel like to start to reach your left arm out in front of you? Maybe your chair gets in a little in the way and you can navigate around that. Exhale, knee and elbow hug towards one another. Inhale, reach them out away from you. How much are you relying on your front hand and shoulder to balance you, to keep you steady? It's not wrong to do that. It's actually one of the ways that you can accommodate this movement. If you wanted to have less support, less accommodation, then you start to take maybe tippy fingers onto the support instead of your palm. At your own time, you can close your eyes and experiment with this movement pattern without the eyes to assist. Now we could say, the metaphor here is that when you cannot see, it's hard to balance. So when you don't know what helps you stay in balance or what helps you find balance, it's going to be particularly challenging to find it. The next time you're in that warrior three, step to the floor and inhale, high lunge. Exhale, downward facing dog. What would help you find balance here? Not just physical balance, but overall balance of energy and vitality in your body. Would it be a chaturanga? or like 8 chaturangas? Or would it be something like child's pose, malasana, maybe the cat-cow? And give yourself a chance to explore for a few breaths what helps you experience balance in this moment, or what helps you move towards balance and harmony. As you finish your journey toward balance in this moment, walk your hands to meet your feet from the downward facing dog. So you're standing at the back of your mat. As you're standing at the back of your mat, can you have the feet about hip distance apart and bend your right knee deeply, keeping your left leg straight-ish? Notice what that feels like on your straight leg. And notice, is there more weight in your right foot or in your left foot? What happens when you lean a lot into the bent leg? And what happens when you lean more weight into the straight leg? Switch sides. Bend your left knee, straighten your right leg. And notice, is there more weight in one foot and one leg compared to the other? What happens when you lean towards the bent leg and really push into it? What happens when you lean into the straight leg and really find its connection to ground? Slowly bring both knees bent and take your feet even wider apart. So now they're as wide as your sticky mat. And with your knees bent very, very deeply, roll your spine up one vertebra at a time. As you explore that, take your time. Maybe it's a few breath process to come up to standing. Now feet are wide apart, so check in with what that feels like. Close your eyes for a moment. Open your eyes when you're ready. Now as you stand on your mat, could you imagine you're on a balance beam and take your right foot in front of your left foot and have the right heel kind of tucked between the big toe and the one next to it? And then just feel what that's like for you. Try training your eyes at one point in front of you that's not moving. And then keeping your eyes softly there, could you close your eyelids? And what happens with the feeling of balance here? Now, are you standing more on the back foot or on the front foot? Open your eyes and transition your weight into your front foot so the back foot almost lifts. Transition the weight into your back foot so the front foot almost lifts. And do that a few times where you're leaning a little bit forward and backward into your feet. My hands just did this thing where they kind of like went into tiger claws to help me. Anybody else notice something like that? The next time you move forward and backward, would you like to try it with your eyes closed? If the answer is yes, go for it. If the answer is no, feel free to keep them open as you do your last one. And now changing sides. So whichever foot was in front is now in back. And start by closing your eyes to observe where your weight is and how this side feels. Does your breath change when your eyes close? Now open eyes and lean forward into your front foot. Lean into your back foot. It's almost like the other foot lifts off the floor as you experiment with this leaning forward and backward. And are there any sort of things that your arms or your shoulders are doing to help you, but that aren't really needed, like tightening or squeezing? The next time you lean forward and backward, you can experiment with doing it while closing your eyes, if you choose. And how is this side different than the other side? and open your eyes. And notice, was it easier to balance when the weight was in the back foot or when the weight was in the front foot? And was that the same with each foot in front, or did it change depending on which foot was in front, right? It's just interesting to notice those things, I think. Okay, so if you have a strap and you want to grab it, feel free to do so. Actually, let's do one more thing before we get there. Yeah, one more thing. So take your 2 blocks and have them nearby, or 1 block or chair, or whatever you want, and have your right foot in front and your left foot behind you. Now, both toes are pointing most of the way forward. The back foot will turn out a little bit to the side, but hip bones are, kind of like headlights pointing towards the front of your mat. Then fold, bringing your hands to the blocks or some sort of support. It could be your front thigh. That would work just as well. And as you fold, can you push your calf of your front leg towards the shin of your front leg, almost like you're pushing your front foot into a gas pedal. And then depending on how it's feeling for your body, you could fold your hands towards the blocks or towards the floor and experiment with tucking your chin to your chest and looking towards your navel. As you fold over the front leg here, what does your hamstring have to talk to you about? And how would it feel for you to close your eyes here? As you linger for another breath or 2, noticing how pausing in this shape gives a little time for different sensations to arise and for things to change. When you're ready, inhale, lift your torso halfway. You can push more through your front foot to lift up to standing. Now experiment with bringing your blocks with you as needed and turning your feet to turn to the other side, seeing how that works on balance to turn the feet in this position. When you're ready, start to hinge forward over the second side. Again, you can have hands on the front thigh and shin just above your knee or below your knee. And really focus on pushing the calf towards the shin as if you're pushing into the ball of your foot like you're pressing onto a gas pedal or a brake. And then as you bring your hands to whatever position feels best, experiment with tucking your chin to your chest as you fold. What's it like to look in the general direction of your navel? And how does this side feel compared to the other side? And I invite you to let go of things like bad or good as the way you describe what's different, and more, maybe it's getting a little bit more specific, like, I feel more sensation in my glute here, or it's a little harder for me to balance on this side, or something that's a little bit more specific. As we did on that first side, lingering for just a moment more to give time for things to shift a bit and awareness to move through your body. As you're ready, push through the front foot, again like you're pushing into the brake or the gas pedal, and lift yourself upright, turn feet. So here's where it could be helpful to have a chair or something to put your foot on. You don't have to. You can definitely do this balancing. But if you have a chair, you can take it in front of you. You're not going to do anything really fancy with it per se, so it doesn't need to be like the most stable chair. It could potentially be a little bit of a rolly chair if that's what you got. As you step your front foot on the chair, can you stand into the foot that's on the earth and then lift and float your front foot off the chair? And as you hover there, could you close your eyes here? Well, maybe you wouldn't want a rolly chair for the eyes closed part, but you feel it out. Then experiment, could you straighten that front leg in front of you and hover it above your chair somehow? Whew. And then do the other side. Foot comes back to the earth. Step the other foot on the chair. Press into the standing foot and hover your other foot off the chair. And sense, what's that like for you? Optional, reach your lifted legs straight in front of you. Whew, there's nothing to help you hold it out there. So how does it feel? And then bend the knee, set the foot down. We're going to do same kind of idea with the leg out to the side. Right? This one's a little harder to go straight-legged, so you might stick with the bent knee. So as you stand tall, it's kind of like you're doing the tree pose here with the knee out to the side. What happens when you lift your foot off the chair? Me, I try to lean to the straight leg side. So can you stay really stable in the straight leg side and lift your bent knee off the chair? Bent knee foot off the chair. Good. Set it back down. Do the other side. As you come to the other side, again, stand tall in your leg that's on the earth. As you push into that standing leg, experiment from the hip. Can you hover your foot off the chair? What does that ask of you? Ooh, big breath. And then set the foot back down. Good. You can set the chair off to the side and shift yourself into the downward facing dog. You can inhale, arms up towards ceiling, remembering the samastitihi. Exhale, folding forward into Uttanasana. Inhale, lift halfway, lengthen forward. Exhale, downward facing dog. If you'd like to do a vinyasa, you're welcome to do so. We're going to meet on the back. So any way it works for you to travel onto your back body, go ahead and do that. But, do chaturanga to your heart's content first. Eventually, as you come onto your back, have a block within hand's reach. As you press into the soles of your feet, inhale, lift your arms up towards the ceiling until they reach the earth overhead. Exhale, sweep your arms into that same arc, reversing until arms are by the sides. Do that a few times. Inhale, arms lift up towards the ceiling and overhead. Exhale, arms by your sides. The next time you do this arc of your arms, also lift your torso. Inhale, arms sweep up towards the sky as your torso lifts into a bridge pose. Exhale, lower your spine back to the earth, and the spine and arms reach the earth once again. And do that a couple times. Inhale, spine and arms sweep up on inhale. Exhale, spine and arms lower back to earth as you exhale. Keep going at your own pace. The next time you lift into the bridge, you can experiment with lingering there for a moment. As you press down into your feet, can you keep that same pace and softness to your breath, even though you're holding this shape and it asks a little bit more rigor, a little bit more intensity of you? Now, if you like, grab your block and slide it underneath your hips, underneath your sacrum, and rest in the bridge pose on the block. Now, if it feels good for you to stay here, you're welcome to do so. With all the leg work we did today, you might want a little bit more time in a back bend. If you'd like to add a supported inversion, you can lift your legs up towards the sky, either one at a time if what's under you does not feel very supportive, or both at the same time if you feel really stable on the block or the blanket or the lift that's under your hips. Notice whatever shape you're in, the feeling that's moving through your body, and the pace and length of your breath. bending your knees. You can set feet to the floor one at a time or together. Slide the block out from underneath you and do a few rounds of the windshield wipers, which is that movement we began with at the beginning of practice today. And as you explore this side to side movement, what do you notice? What experience have you had today in relationship to balance? And how your eyes and a sense of seeing clearly can help your balance. As you finish your windshield wipers, set yourself up for Shavasana. And the Shavasana you could support with a blanket underneath your knees and your thighs. You can bring your chair back over and slide it underneath your calves and have kind of like a lifted setup for Shavasana, which can be really helpful for low back. It brings a little bit more of that inverted action of the legs into your practice. You might find it helpful to add a layer of clothing or cover up with a blanket. And as you come to rest on your back here, take a moment to ask yourself if you have rituals and practices that help you accommodate the times that you feel out of balance. And what are those rituals and practices? And have you turned to them recently? And would it help if you consciously cultivated their presence in your life? Slowly bring your hands to rest on your torso. Observe the pace of your breath. Bend your knees and move at your own pace to explore and gradually journey to one side. As you pause on your side for a few moments, notice this space between. The space between the focus, attention, and awareness of your yoga practice and the process of moving back into your life. And can you bring the awareness, attention, and presence that you cultivated during this practice with you as you gradually lift up to seated and bring your palms together in front of your heart? My hope is that this practice has given you some resources and some tools to accommodate imbalance in your life. And to reshape balance not as a static state, but as an ever-changing one. And we'll close our time together with one round of Om. Inhale through your nose. Exhale through your mouth. Inhale through your mouth. Thank you so much for joining for practice today. Such a pleasure to have you here to share in the journey of balance and imbalance. Thank you so much.